Welcome back to Men and the City, and a happy Sunday to you in this fall day from Washington, D.C. I hope wherever you are, you have some time to relax, some time to reflect, and disengage a little bit from the craziness that's happening in the Middle East and around the world. If you're following my content, if you've been watching my videos, you're probably pretty plugged in, probably a reader, someone that is thoughtful, and so you've been bombarded with a lot of what's happening. And I'm going to go more into that in just a moment, but there's a lot of despair right now, particularly among those of us that are red-pilled or those of us that are a bit more savvy, because we sense where things are headed in the world. We sense that things are beginning to unravel or become unhinged. And in fact, I think in many respects that is the key. That is the case. That being said, I wrote an essay about a month ago called "As Rates Rise, Men Will Rise." And that talked largely about the deconstruction or the unraveling of the legacy economic structure. Too much debt, too much malinvestment, too much misallocation of resources, corruption, all the rest of it, things that you're well versed in. But that wasn't the spirit of the essay. The essay was really to say that every generation, every age, every new world or new century, new epoch, whatever, tends to catastrophize. They tend to think that they are uniquely positioned for disaster and catastrophe. And of course, it makes sense. We all want to believe that there is cosmic significance to our lives and to the events that surround us, and specifically to our lives. And of course, to us, it is imminent. So the danger is quite real. And every generation, as I said, goes through this to some degree. It was true during the Cold War. It was true in the lead up to World War II. It was true even for the greatest generation, those that fought during the Second War. They immediately went from fighting this disastrous war in the European continent, a war that demanded tremendous human sacrifice and killing and so forth, to the very real prospect of a nuclear war within 20 years. But in each case, a new generation of men, of strong men, of men that can right the ship, emerges. And I think that that's going to be the case this time as well. There was a video that I watched recently. It was an interesting video. I'll link to it below, but it essentially argued that there are no more warriors in this generation of Americans in particular. And no doubt you could broaden that to include Europe. We live in a time of weak men, a time of prosperity, the age of prosperity as I have called it. And so the case that he made, which is one that I think resonates strongly, is that men today in particular are very weak. Some of that's because they've been emasculated, some of it's because of political correctness, some of it's because of video games and other online distractions, some of it is a loss of testosterone. All of these problems percolate, no doubt. And they have created, as I've called it, a cocktail of emasculation for modern men. That being said, the conclusion of that video was that because there are no warriors today, because we have diluted that term and that concept, because the U.S. military, because militaries around the world, and I suspect this is also the case for the Israeli Defense Force, have weakened, they have slackened. And so they're not as robust, they're not as taut as they once were. And I think that that's true. However, warriors are not made necessarily based on ethos or based on rigid or robust austerity or a harsh training regimen. No matter how robust the training that you go through is, whether it's in the military or it's in the police force, or for those of you that are engineers, you know, the factory floor, ultimately the battlefield, the battle space, the events that are unforeseen that come to the table, that emerge to challenge your livelihood or challenge your existence in some cases, that is the ultimate test. And so we don't really know who is strong and who is weak yet. We're going to find that out. But men will rise. Strong men will emerge. And we will right the ship, as generations have before us. The problems that we face they're significant. They are, in some cases, existential. They are awe-inspiring, to be sure, but they can be solved. They can be overcome by strong men. The last thing I want to say on this, to conclude this video, is that there are lots of people, men in particular, that feel a sense of doom and gloom because there are powers unfolding around the world. There are forces at work that we are not in control of. And no doubt that's the case. However, you should not condemn your thinking to fatalism. Instead, you want to take action. And that's ultimately the difference between those who are strong men and those who are weak. Strong men take action. They stand on principle. They don't waffle. They don't succumb to the catastrophizing of weaker men that think that nothing could be done, that events have already been decided, that fait accompli, or the fates have decided, and therefore they disengage. That is a very dangerous defeatism that weaker men imbibe. Who are the strong men that are going to emerge? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is us. Nobody is coming to save us. But conversely, nobody is coming to save those opposed to us either. It is our time. Interest rates are rising. Wars are beginning. The unraveling of the international community and a restructuring of the world is underway. And that conditions the world favorably for strong men. As I've said, in the age of scarcity, the charisma of masculinity will resurface. So, don't give up hope. Prepare for a radically different time in which all the rules of the game, the rules to some degree that have constrained, that have limited or impeded masculinity, they're going to be demolished. They're going to be wiped out quickly. And then it will be a question of who will rise to the occasion. And I believe that it's going to be us. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.